Hello everyone, welcome to your second royal reading here at MadWorldTarot. Very late today on this Thursday evening, but I wanted to jump on because of this letter that Harry's security people sent to the NYPD about the near catastrophic car chase and their handling of the investigation, and sort of a threatening letter. And there was a letter that was produced at the end of last year, late filing as far as I can tell, as far as I recall, to the UK courts, to the Met Police about the near catastrophic car chase. And there was an investigation allegedly into the car chase, and the investigation found that Harry and Meghan were dangerously chased by paparazzi, which is pretty surprising given that the immediate response by the mayor, the NYPD, people around in New York was never, not possible. Taxi driver, we got stuck behind a garbage truck, and if anyone was driving dangerously at the time, a lot of people say the people driving dangerously were Harry and Meghan's own security, as far as I can recall. So that's just that. But anyway, off this letter went last December, and it said that they had been dangerously chased, and that changes would be made to the Duke and Duchess's security arrangements whenever they were in New York in future. And we have seen beefed up security around Harry when he's been visiting New York. So it did have some consequences. The investigation, they interviewed Harry and Meghan's security, the police, they looked at video surveillance footage, they looked at social media. Interesting, don't you think, that they looked at social media and who was on her phone at the time when the car chase was allegedly happening. Urban Tarot on the tarot table again, because it's New York. We're going to do a little 5-card reading. We're going to look at this. How is this letter that was sent by the Chief of Intelligence? Some suspicion around this letter. I just have to say, some people say that he sent the letter after he'd been moved to another department. Maybe he didn't even send the letter. People have tried to get copies of the letter, haven't been able to. So there is some mystery around that letter, let's just say. But how was it received by the Met Police? How do Harry's lawyers feel about it? Is it a benefit for them, improving their case? And how does the judge feel about it, who's hearing this case? Is it going to sway the court case in Harry's favour? And I now have to climb under the tarot table briefly. And it's interesting that the card that went flying off the tarot table is the Lovers, the Harry and Meghan card. And of course things were still, I'll just shuffle it back in quickly, things were still pretty rosy at that stage. She was in that gold sort of bedspread or quilt dress. They'd gone through the Hertz entrance to get some silly award, all for her. He'd been dragged along. Some people say that he wasn't expected to be there, interestingly, and had got dragged along. And so he was the one that was most alarmed by the car chase, and Meghan and Doria were quite indifferent to the alleged threats, very interestingly. It was a very interesting evening, that evening in New York, when they were trying to conceal where they were actually staying, which is why they couldn't just drive home. So many strange things. Let's remind you, this is just tarot for fun and entertainment, all my opinion, all speculation. I just read energy here, and there is, of course, a disclaimer in the box below. So how is this letter received by the police, by the lawyers, by the judge? Will it sway things in Harry's favour? I've got the Empress in reverse, interestingly. Female energy, mother energy, the Empress. And we know about the mother. I was saying in the previous reading, because we're, back in court case land today. We were in it yesterday as well. Of course, the tunnel that they were allegedly trying to get to in Manhattan, for whatever reason, they were heading for a tunnel. That's according to people who followed the car chase on social media. And we all know what happened to the mother in Paris in a tunnel. So I think enough said about that. I mean, how many times can you reference that unless you are Harry and you have a court case trying to get your security reinstated because of what happened in Paris all those years ago. So let's move on to the actual situation we're dealing with now, this letter and how it landed in the UK, and that's the 8 of Swords, and it's in reverse. It says interference, which is an interesting keyword for a court case and a letter that has been provided quite late in the day, inserted into the filings. As far as I can tell, it was very late in the day. So that keyword interference is quite interesting. And mental interference, literally in the 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords, the trap card, the mental construct that is created, a sense of being stuck, entrapped, a sense of fear, and you can't move and you can't do anything. It's in reverse. So possibly what these cards describe as interference is not really going to succeed in interfering. That's interesting. That's a very interesting nuance that is coming from the Urban Tarot. It's quite a different tarot deck, and it's given me that little slight difference in how I would normally read the card energetically. Getting out of a stuck place when the card is in reverse also, and Harry might have found himself in a bit of a stuck place with his court case and trying to maneuver his way out of that stuck place with this letter. Let's just say that that is my opinion, and it is all allegedly. Flashing light allegedly on the tarot table. So let's have a look. How did this letter land with the Met Police in London? What did they think when they got it from the NYPD? 10 of Swords, ruin. It's like, oh no, it couldn't be worse. The 10 of Swords really has a sense of betrayal in it, which is very interesting. This is from one police force to another. Allegedly, again, I'm not sure about any of these documents, these letters. So allegedly flashes over all of them and how true they are and whether these are exactly the words in these letters. I don't know, can't say for sure. But if it's from one police force to another, the feeling is of betrayal. You've ruined us with this letter. We've stood up to this brat all this time. He doesn't deserve the security that he's trying to get, and now here comes this letter. And this is after an alleged investigation into this car chase, where suddenly, from being a nothing burger, dismissed by the mayor, by the NPD, everyone else, oh now, Harry and Meghan were dangerously chased by paparazzi 6 months after the fact. So how does the lawyer feel? I think it's big head guy. I'm not sure if he's running this case, this is the security case, or whether he's just in charge of the media cases. But anyway, lawyers, how do they feel? Prince of Discs, the day trader. We're in page territory. We're in Kaching territory, because it's pages are communications, and if you've got Page of Pentacles, you're in contracts and negotiations and deals. That's why it's the day trader. He's making deals, fast and furious deals, being a day trader. And this is come in quickly in the nick of time. It's got quite speedy energy, which a Page of Pentacles normally wouldn't. Discs in this tarot, but it's got that fast energy of a fast turnaround, and we can almost make a buck out of this, because that's what a day trader does. And so something we can negotiate with, something that's an asset to us. That's how they see it. I'm reading energy. I'm using a very specific tarot deck with its own nuances, and so far they've been quite interesting. Perhaps you'll agree with me about that. So let's see how the judge in this case is going to feel about this letter. What does he think about this letter? Allegedly, of course. And we got the Four of Swords here. And the Four of Swords is interesting energy because it's the hiding, disappearing, defeated energy. It's when you are down and out after Three of Swords, kind of broken energy. You retire and you lick your wounds. This tells me that the judge feels that this is something that's coming from a very wounded, I don't know what he's called in these proceedings, judicial review proceedings, but let's call him a plaintiff. So this is coming from somebody who has been quite wounded, and he has. I think this is his last gasp, his last chance saloon here with this security thing. Any normal person would have given up by now, given the sort of telling off that he's got from the judge along the way. And I think that this judge realizes that, this is of course my opinion, realizes that Harry is in a very bad place. Four of Swords, you are in a very bad place in Four of Swords energy. You should really give up. You should retire from the lists. You should put down your sword. You should admit defeat and focus on healing. But Harry can't do that. Mummy Diana. And now, of course, Meghan and Doria and all the rest of it. And so the judge sees where it's coming from, why it's coming and the way it's coming. He does see it. Is this letter going to sway things for Harry and make it that, oh, well, you were in such terrible danger in New York, allegedly, that yes, you're going to get another chance with Ravik or Ravik or whatever they're called in the UK, that committee that decides these things. It's got to go back to them and they've got to decide it all over, which is, as far as I understand it, the best outcome that Harry can wish for at this point. So how's it going to go? Well, we've got the Six of Swords. It's called Science. It's the moving on into calmer waters, moving away from conflict, Five of Swords, to calmer waters, Six of Swords, overseas energy, traveling far, far away. So it looks as if it is going to have some kind of calming effect on this case, these proceedings. Smooth them over, calm them down. It might be sufficient, and I know that nobody wants to hear this. I least of all want to say this, but I just have to be true to the energy that's here in this card and say that it looks as if he's going to get another opportunity with this committee. Doesn't necessarily mean the committee is going to decide in his favor, especially if he's living overseas, which is in here. What difference does it make if they decide that when he's in the UK he can have security? It doesn't necessarily mean that when he's everywhere else he can have security, because he's not a head of state. He's not any of those very important people, who those protected whatevers they are, who should get all this level of security. But it looks as if it's going to push the energy forward and give some momentum to this appeal and push it back. It's going to pass it on to the committee again. And of course he is such a whinger, and he is so insistent on his rights, and he's special, and he's so in danger that I would say quite honestly that even without this letter it might have got a nudge back to the deciding committee. This is going to go on and on and on, as far as I can tell. So there you have it. I don't think anyone is fooled in here. The only one who looks pleased, as we've got swords and swords and swords and swords, and swords are never comfortable. Never, ever, ever. There is interference, looks like it. The day trader is the one who's rubbing their hands in glee and saying, ha ha, here we've got something now we can negotiate with. That's my opinion, my reading, all speculation, and thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.